from 20 hours a day to 0. Now this wasn't an easy task. In fact, it was a very uphill task, but within 4 years, we delivered on that promise. At that point in time, I remember load shedding was almost 18 to 20 hours a day in most areas of Pakistan. The second challenge was the security situation of the country. And the commercial hub of this country, which makes the economy go and which pays majority of the taxes, Karachi was a very unsafe city. But there was an iron resolve to restore peace in Karachi and to restore peace in other parts of the country. And we, with the help of the security forces, embarked upon this National Action Plan. And 2 operations were launched in no-go areas, and the operation was launched in Karachi. And I'm delighted and proud to report that within those 4 years, the law and order situation in the country improved immensely. We saw that there were no suicide bombings. We saw that the law and order situation, not only in Karachi, but all over the country, improved immensely. Now, this time around, when we talk about building trust for growth, what does it mean? In the previous government, we were faced with the risk of default. And when I talk about trust, I'll just briefly explain to you how we were able to regain that trust in a short span of time, because we were on the verge of default. And you will bear me out that exporters faced great difficulties because of the fluctuating rate of currency. Nobody would even open LCs in that era. So with the right kind of policies, we averted a big crisis. But this time we've come back with a certain level of confidence because we averted default and we actually sacrificed our political capital for the betterment of the economy, for the betterment of the country and its people. Our priority this time and our slogan is that the government has no business being in business. And this is the policy that my Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has embarked upon. Why? Because we've seen over the past few decades that be it public sector organizations, be it public sector corporations or state-owned enterprises, they've not been able to deliver. And I will not pin the blame on any one political government. We are all a part of it. We've all contributed to the failures of these institutions. So when we say that the government has no business being in business, for building trust and attaining growth, we've gone towards a policy of privatization and of outsourcing. Our 3 major policies in this tenure have been of privatization of SOEs. And even in my ministry, where we are faced with the challenge of a 5th generation warfare, and my primary task is to counter misinformation, because a small amount of misinformation can cause irreparable damage to the economy. Any person sitting in any part of the world would just pick up a camera and say that, you know, the Pakistani stock market is going to crash today, or a certain step is going to be taken by the terrorists today to create an unstable environment, to create instability. So we are faced with a challenge to create a stable and secure environment, to counter propaganda, to counter fake news, because it hurts the economy really badly. So as far as the policies are concerned, I would not take much of your time, but as I mentioned, the privatization and outsourcing and the slogan that government has no business being in business. Besides that, we have also embarked upon a journey of right-sizing and downsizing in the government, because we have a huge bureaucracy. We have huge government departments who are just surviving on taxpayers' money and are contributing nothing to the economy. So when we talked about the Pakistan Public Works Department, for example, there was a leakage of hundreds of billions of rupees every year. A bold step was taken to shut down that department. And it has been implemented on the ground. Many corporations, many public sector organizations, which have no role to play in this day and age, we're going to shut them down. Departments which contribute nothing to the economy, but survive on billions of rupees of taxpayers' money. Nobody has even thought about it, but now the focus is there, and we actually have a committee on downsizing and right-sizing to close down government departments which are not performing. And I think this is the first step in the right direction. So the first policy being of privatization and outsourcing, of right-sizing and downsizing. For the first time ever, we took the step of digitalization and reforms in the FBR. And I know that when it comes to the FBR, it's not a very popular subject. But there was willpower to change things around, to bring about economic reform, a homegrown agenda for economic reform. And this is the way that trust will be built, because enough is enough. We can't have non-taxpayers bearing the burden of those people who pay tax in this country. So what is the way forward? How to achieve that trust? How to bring about that reform? There was only one way, and that was to digitalize the entire system of the Federal Board of Revenue. And I'm happy to report that it is being done at zero cost, because we got in touch with the Melinda Gates Foundation. They already had a program for economic reform, and the Melinda Gates Foundation is funding the entire FBR digitization process. And they were kind enough to help us get through to McKinsey Corporation, which is now heading this project. So it is a project funded by the Melinda Gates Foundation, and the actual work is now being done by McKinsey Corporation, one of the top firms in the world. So this was necessary because, as I mentioned, we can't have leakages, we can't have loopholes, and we can't have non-taxpayers bearing the burden of taxpayers. और मैं जब ये बात करता हूँ तो इसमें गुजारिश सिर्फ इतनी है कि जब FBR की ये डिजिटाइजेशन का प्रोसेस अपने पाया तकमील तक पहुँचेगा तो फाइलर्स की तादाद में एक आपको वाज़े इजाफा नज़र आएगा, और जो टैक्स अदा करने वाले लोग इतना बोझ बर्दाश्त करते हैं, वो बोझ उन पर इसलिए कम होगा कि कई सौ अरब रुपए साल की जो लीकेज है उसको बंद करने में मदद जो है वो मिलेगी। ये 3 पॉलिसीज आते ही इनका ऐलान और इन पे इम्प्लीमेंटेशन इसलिए की गई कि ग्रोथ अचीव करनी है तो ये गैप्स को ब्रिज करना पड़ेगा और एक होप का नैरेटिव भी लेके आना पड़ेगा, और अगर ये स्टेप्स ना लिए गए तो फिर इसके बगैर ग्रोथ अचीव नहीं हो सकती। एडिंग टू दैट, ये तीनों स्टेप्स जो है वो बड़ी तेजी से लिए जा रहे हैं और इन पे इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जो है वो शुरू हो चुकी है। तो मैं ये समझता हूँ कि एक सिक्योरिटी सिचुएशन के हवाले से भी पूरा फोकस है इस गवर्नमेंट का कि जब तक वो उन हालात को भी ठीक नहीं किया जाएगा, एंड जब हम अज़्म इस्तेहकाम की बात करते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल, दैट इज़ अ विजन फॉर ए सिक्योर एंड स्टेबल एनवायरनमेंट, ताकि इस मुल्क में ईज़ ऑफ बिजनेस को इनकरेज किया जा सके। एंड आई अंडरस्टैंड कि मैं प्रोविंशियल ब्यूरोक्रेसी में काम किया है, कोई आफत आ जाए तो सबसे पहले बिजनेसमैन मुश्किल में आता है। कोविड आ जाएगा तो 100 तरह की रेगुलेशंस हैं, EOBI से लेके एनवायरनमेंट से लेके SECP तक। डेंगू आ जाएगा तो सबसे पहले बिजनेसमैन मुश्किल में आता है। 100 तरह की रेगुलेशंस हैं कि उसने EOBI को भी जवाब देना है, एनवायरनमेंट को भी जवाब देना है, उसने फलां जगह फलां फॉर्म जमा कराना है, फलां जगह फलां क्लियरेंस देनी है, फलां जगह पे फलां NOC जो है वो जमा कराना है। तो ये सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है विच आई आइडेंटिफाई बीइंग अ पार्ट ऑफ द सिस्टम। और ये प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब का बहुत फोकस है कि ईज ऑफ बिजनेस को सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस देनी पड़ेगी। सारे स्टेप्स हम कर लेंगे, ایف بی آر کی ڈیجیٹائزیشن بھی ہو جائے گی, ریفارمز بھی ہو جائیں گے, رائٹ سائزنگ ڈاؤن سائزنگ بھی ہو جائے گی, پرائیویٹائزیشن پہ بھی فوکس ہوگا. بٹ جب تک اس ملک میں ایز آف بزنس کی انوائرمنٹ کریٹ نہیں ہوگی, یہ ملک ترقی نہیں کر سکتا. تو جہاں فوکس ان ریفارمز کے اوپر ہے, وہاں پہ ایز آف بزنس کے اوپر بھی اسپیشل ایمفسس کیا جا رہا ہے کہ جہاں پہ ایس آئی ایف سی اپنا کام کر رہی ہے, اسپیشل انویسٹمنٹ فیسیلیٹیشن کاؤنسل, اس کے ساتھ ساتھ وزارت خزانہ میں باقاعدہ طور پہ ایز آف بزنس کی ایک الگ کمیٹی بنائی گئی ہے تاکہ ایک ایسا انوائرمنٹ پیدا کیا جا سکے which is conducive for businessmen, which is conducive for business environment, and people don't have to go through the red tape or go through a whole system which is full of impediments کہ کوئی ایک چھوٹی سی اپروول لینے کے لیے ٹائم کنزیومنگ اور لینتھی پروسیس ہے which is full of bureaucratic hurdles. تو اس کو بھی ختم کرنا حکومت کی اولین ترجیح ہے. And I have a firm belief that we Pakistanis, we are a very resilient people. ہم سے زیادہ چیریٹی کوئی نہیں کرتا پوری دنیا میں. کوئی آفت آ جائے ہم سے زیادہ فورتھ کمنگ اور ولنگ ٹو ہیلپ کوئی نہیں ہوتا. امجد ثاقب صاحب بیٹھے, انہوں نے ایک جس طرح اس قوم کو ان اچھے کازز کے اراؤنڈ گیدر کیا ہے, I think hats off to him. So I would just conclude by saying that we in Pakistan have a good story to tell, and with the right kind of approach and with optimism and with hope, sky is the limit inshallah ta'ala, and we will get through these hurdles and Pakistan will prosper. Thank you very much. Pakistan Zindabad.
وزیر اطلاعات و نشریات سی ای او سمٹ سے خطاب کر رہے تھے. ان کا کہنا تھا کہ ملک کی معیشت بہتری کی جانب گامزن ہے. سی پیک پاکستان کی معیشت کے لیے ریڑھ کی ہڈی کی حیثیت رکھتا ہے. ہم